morning everyone. We are discussing sample paper maths solution. Question 1 says set A has 3 elements and set B has 4 elements. Then the number of injective functions that can be defined from set A to set B is, so it will be 4p3, and that is equal to factorial 4, which is equal to 24. Given a function, second question says given a function as fx is equal to 5x plus 4, where x is an element of real numbers, if g is the function that is inverse of function f, then gx is, so we are given y is equal to 5x plus 4, therefore x is equal to y minus 4 by 5. So what is f inverse y? F inverse y is y minus 4 by 5, changing the variable, so it becomes f inverse x is equal to x minus 4 by 5. Coming to question number 3, tan inverse sine minus pi by 2 is equal to, so we are finding out the value of this sine minus pi by 2, that will become minus 1. Minus 1 means it is tan minus pi by 4, and tan minus theta can be written as minus times tan theta. So it is minus tan inverse tan pi by 4. And what is tan inverse tan theta? Tan inverse tan theta is theta in the particular domain. So minus sign is over here and we are getting minus pi by 4 as the result. Then cos inverse cos 7 pi by 6 is equal to, so we'll be seeing what is the principal value branch for cos. It is from 0 to pi. So we'll try to make this 7 pi by 6 between 0 and pi. So it becomes cos inverse cos 2 pi minus theta. We know because 2 pi minus theta is equal to cos theta. So 2 pi minus 5 pi by 6 will generate 7 pi by 6. It comes in the domain of cos inverse. So cos inverse cos 5 pi by 6 is equal to 5 pi by 6, because cos inverse cos theta is equal to theta, where theta lies between 0 and pi. Coming to question number 5, total number of possible matrices of order 2 by 3 with each entry 1 or 0 is, so we are having 6 entries. Any entry can be 0 or 1, that means it can take 2 values, so our result is 2 to the power 6, and that becomes 64. Coming to question number 6, if A and B are the matrices of order 3 into m and 3 into n respectively, such that m is equal to n, then the order of 2a plus 7b is, so the order of both is same, order of A and order of B. So order of 2a plus 7b will yield the same order, either 3 by m or 3 by n. So either answer is true. Coming to question number 7, let A be a square matrix of order 2 by 2, then determinant of Ka is equal to, so we know the formula, determinant of Ka is equal to K and the order of matrix into determinant of A, so it is K square A, because the matrix order is 2 by 2. Coming to question number 8, if area of a triangle with vertices 3, 2, minus 1, 4 and 6k is 7 square units, then possible values of k are, so using the determinant, it is equal to 3, 2 can be written as 3, 2, 1, minus 1, 4 can be written as minus 1, 4, 1, and 6k is written as 6k, 1, and we are making and the area will be half of this value, half of this determinant is equal to 7. 7 is given to us, but this determinant always yield a positive value, so we'll be taking both the signs over here, it is plus and minus. So using both the signs, we'll be solving this determinant, and solving this determinant will give us the value as 4 and minus 3 for k. Coming to question number 9, it is an important question. If x is equal to t square, y is equal to t cube, then d square y by dx square is. So what is dx by dt? Because it is a parametric equation given to us, so we'll find out dx by dt, we'll find out dy by dt, and by dividing 2 by 1 we'll get dy by dx. That is what we have got, 3 by 2t. But Okay, so what is d square y by dx square? That means again differentiating this value, second derivative, it will be equal to 3 by 2 into differential of t with respect to x, dt by dx. And what is the value of dt by dx? The value of dt by dx we can get from this equation 1. It will be equal to 1 by 2t. So we have written over here, and we have got the answer as 3 by 4t. This is the answer. Coming to question number 10. So this question says, if fx is equal to x square into sine 1 by x, where x is not equal to 0, because then it will not be defined, then the value of function fx at x is equal to 0, so that the function is continuous at x is equal to 4. X is equal to 0 is, so we are given this function is continuous, right? So when function is continuous, that means left hand limit is equal to right hand limit, and the value of function at x is equal to 0, they all are same. So given fx is equal to x square sine 1 by x, we'll be finding out LHL. So what is LHL? What is left hand limit? So this will yield us, we have found the LHL over here. So limit fx x tend to 0 minus, that means approaching 0 from left hand side. So h is a very small quantity, limit h tend to 0, h square sine 1 by 0 minus h, and that will yield us minus h. So it will yield us a finite quantity is equal to 0 square into a finite quantity, that will be 0. Coming to RHL, so RHL is again approaching 0 from right hand side, so it will be equal to h square into sine 1 by h. Again this is a finite quantity, and it will give us 0 square into finite quantity, that is 0. So LHL is equal to RHL. So for continuity, the condition is that LHL is equal to RHL is the value of the function at x is equal to a, that is given to us. So over here it is given to us as f0. So we have got the answer as 0. Correct. Question number 11 has two parts. If A is a square matrix of order 3 such that A square is equal to 2A, then find the value of A. So going for the solution of first part, it is given A square is equal to 2A. So taking determinant of both the sides, determinant of A square is equal to determinant of 2A. A square can be written as A by A. And we know the value of the determinant. That means determinant of A into B can be written as determinant of A into determinant of B. So we have separated them, it is equal to 2A. And we know determinant of Ka is equal to K to the power n into A, where n is the order. So it is equal to 2 to the power 3 into determinant of A is equal to left hand side, that is equal to determinant of A into determinant of A. Determinant A get cancelled, and we have got the value of determinant A as 8. Coming to part 2, it is if A is equal to 3 minus 1, 1 and 2, show that A square minus 5A plus 7I equals 0. So we know it is, we have to find out A square, that means multiplying A by A. So we know the multiplication of matrix, it yields us 8, 5 minus 5 and 3. What is 5A? 5A is equal to 5 into matrix A, it yields 15 minus 5, 5 and 10. And 7I is 7007, and adding all of them as given, that is A square minus 5A plus 7I, it yields us 0. So to find out the inverse, hence find A inverse. So we know it is A square minus 5A is equal to minus 7I. That means A into A minus 5 is equal to minus 7I. Putting I only on right hand side, so it becomes A into minus 1 by 7 into A minus 5 is equal to I, and we know A into A inverse is equal to I. This we know, A into A inverse is equal to I. So that means this value that we have got, it is A inverse. So we can find out A inverse. So it is 1 upon minus 7 into A minus 5. 5 means it is 5I. It is 5I. So doing this manipulation, we get the answer as 1 upon 7, 2, 0, 1, 3. This is what is A inverse. So coming to question number 12. Question number 12 says, find the equation of the normal to the curve y is equal to x plus 1 by x given x is greater than 0, because function will be defined only when x is greater than 0, perpendicular to the line 3x minus 4y is equal to 7. So normal is perpendicular to the line 3x minus 4y is equal to 7. So what is the slope of this line? The slope of this line is plus 3 by 4. Therefore slope of normal will be minus 4 by 3, since m1 m2 is equal to minus 1. From the given curve y is equal to x plus 1 by x, we find dy by dx. It gives us 1 minus 1 by x square, and 1 minus 1 by x square is the slope of the line that is given to us, that is 3 by 4, right? Since it is tangent, because normal is perpendicular to the tangent, it is the slope of the tangent, 3 by 4. So it yields x square is equal to 4 and x is equal to plus minus 2, but we have to take x is greater than 0, so it is x is equal to 2. So we have got x is equal to 2. At x is equal to 2, what is the value of y? Put in the equation of this curve. So y is equal to 2 plus 1 by 2, that gives us 5 by 2. So equation of a normal is y minus y1 is equal to m into x minus x1. So y minus, what is y1? It is 5 by 2 is equal to m. So slope of normal is minus 4 by 3 into x minus x1, that is equal to 2. So we get the equation as 8x plus 6y is equal to 31. Coming to question number 13, find the values of k so that following function is continuous at x is equal to 0. For continuity, we know that LHL is equal to RHL, and the limit exists for the function. So function is continuous at x is equal to 0. So x at x is equal to 0, the value is given as 1 by 2, and for LHL and RHL we will be using the value of function as 1 minus cos kx upon x sin x. So limit x tend to 0, fx is equal to f0, because the limit of the function at x is equal to 0 is equal to the value of the function at 0 for function to be continuous. So limit x tend to 0, fx is equal to limit x tend to 0, 1 minus cos kx upon x sin s, that is given to us. Now we'll try to find out the limit of the function, because limit will exist because it is given to us at it is continuous. So definitely limit exists. So the question becomes limit x tend to 0, 2 sine square kx by 2, because 1 minus cos x can be seen as 2 sine square theta. 1 minus cos 2 theta can be seen as 2 sine square theta. So it yields 2 sine square kx by 2 upon x sine x. Now x sine x can be written as x square into sine x by x. The purpose is because the limit for sine x by x we know. So here written this value as x square sine x by x. Again multiplying and divide numerator and denominator by k square by 4. So upper term becomes 2k square by 4 sine kx by 2 whole square upon kx by 2 whole square into sine x by x. We have multiplied and divided by k square by 4, and writing k square by 4 like this over here. X square was initially there, right? So now what we can do, we can take this 2k square by 4, and since it is constant, it can be taken out. We are left with 2k square by 4 limit x tend to 0 sine kx by 2 whole square upon kx by 2 whole square into sine x by x. We know this limit will become 1. Sine x upon x into sine x upon x, it will become 1, and this will also become 1. So it will yield the result only the constant value over here, that is 2k square by 4, and it will be k square by 2. So the function is continuous at x is equal to 0. That means k square by 2 is equal to 1 by 2. So it gives k square is equal to 1. The value of k is plus minus 1. This is the answer. Coming to question number 14, check whether the relation r in the set of integers defined by r is equal to, it is a comma b, such that a plus b is divisible by 2 is reflexive, symmetric or transitive. And we have to write the, if it is all, we have to show it. Then it will be, we will be finding out the equivalence class containing 0. So since r is a we'll check for reflexive first. So for reflexive we are checking. So for reflexive we know that a should be an element of R if a belong to set of integers. So since a plus a, because the relation is a plus b is divisible by 2, so a plus a is equal to 2a, that is definitely divisible by 2. Therefore it is a reflexive. For symmetric, if ab is an element of R, it implies ba is an element of R. So that means if a plus b is divisible by 2, definitely b plus a is also divisible by 2. Therefore it is symmetric also. For transitive, ab is divisible by 2, that means a plus b is divisible by 2, and b plus c is also divisible by 2. It shows a plus c should be divisible by 2, so that we are trying to get. So a plus b is equal to 2k1, and b plus c again it is divisible by 2, so it can be written as 2k2. Adding 1 and 2, we got a plus c is equal to twice. We have taken this b on the right hand side, 2b on the right hand side. So it becomes 2 is the common factor, k1 plus k2 minus b. So it simply shows that a plus c is also divisible by 2. Therefore it is transitive. So reflexive, symmetric, transitive. Therefore this relation R is the equivalence relation. Now equivalence class containing 0. That means one element should be 0 over here. So we have got one element is equal to 0. That means a plus 0 should be divisible by 2. So that means equivalence class of 0 will be all the integers which are even, because only then it will be divisible by 2. So we are finding out the value of a. It will be all positive and negative integers. So this is the answer. Question number 15 says find the value of a square when a is a 2 by 2 matrix whose elements are given by aij is equal to 1 if I is not equal to j and 0 if I is equal to j. So it is a very easy question. When I is not equal to j, that means it is equal to 1. So it is a12 and it is a21. So these values are 1, others are 0. Then we need to find out a square, that means multiplying a by a. It gives us 1 0 0 1. We know the matrix multiplication and the result is this, that is a identity matrix. Second part says given a is a square matrix of order 3 by 3 and determinant of a is equal to minus 4, find determinant of adjoint a. Again for adjoint a we know the formula. Determinant of adjoint a is equal to determinant of a to the power n minus 1, where n is the order of the square matrix. Here the order is 3. So determinant of adjoint a is equal to a to the determinant a to the power 3 minus 1. It is equal to determinant of a whole square, and we know the value of determinant a from the given condition. So minus 4 whole square will yield 16. So this is easy. Coming to question 16, find adjoint a if a is equal to 2 minus 1 4 3. So for this, first we are finding out minor m11 m12 m21 m22. We know how to find out the minor. So minor for 1 is will be left with only 3. So 3 is the minor for it. Similarly m12. So for m12 again it is, we are talking of this. So hiding all these, we are left with 4. So similarly we have got m12 is equal to 4, m21 is equal to minus 1 and m22 is equal to 2. Now we need to find out a. So what is a11? Cofactor. a11 is equal to minus 1 to the power 2 into 3. It is equal to a11 is equal to minus 1 to the power I plus j. It is I plus j, and in first case I plus j will yield 2. In this case I plus j will yield 3. In this case I plus j will yield, because it is 2 1, it will yield 3, and in this I plus j will yield 4 2 2. So we have found out a11, a12, a21, a22. That means multiplying this minus 1 to the power I plus j by the corresponding minor. And adjoint a, in adjoint a we write a11, a12 in this form. That means we transpose the cofactor matrix a21, a22, and we got the answer as 3, minus 4, 1 and 2. Question number 17 says prove that the greatest integer function defined by fx is equal to box x. Box x is the greatest integer function. 0 is less than x is less than 2 is not differentiable at x is equal to 1. This we need to show. So in first case, that means we'll check for right hand derivative, we check for left hand derivative. If they are equal, that means it is differentiable at x is equal to 1, else not. So for right hand derivative, again we have taken as minute quantity h, so limit h tend to 0, function at 1 plus h minus function value at 1 upon h. So what is box 1 plus h? It will give me the value as 1, minus box 1 will give me 1 upon plus h is equal to h tend to 0. So my result will be 0 upon something, that is 0. So it is right hand derivative. If we are talking of left hand derivative, it will be limit h tend to 0, function at 1 minus h minus function value at 1 upon minus h. What is function? Function is box. So box of 1 minus h, it will yield 0, minus box of 1 will yield 1 upon minus h. So it will be minus 1 upon minus h. So it will be, limit will be infinity. So that means LHD is not equal to right hand derivative. So function is not differentiable at x is equal to 1. Coming to second part, if x is equal to a sec theta, y is equal to b tan theta, find d square y by dx square at theta is equal to pi by 6. So dy by dx will be dy by d theta upon dx by d theta. So we are given y is equal to b tan theta. So what is dy by d theta? Theta is equal to b into, we know the differential for tan x is sec square x, so it will be sec square theta. Similarly, x is given to us as a sec theta. We know the differential of sec theta is equal to sec theta tan theta. So dx by d theta is equal to a sec theta tan theta. dy by dx is dy by d theta upon dx by d theta, and it gives us b by a cosec theta. Again differentiating it, that means second order derivative. So it will be differential of cosec theta is equal to minus cosec theta cot theta into d theta by dx. D theta by dx we know from here. It will be 1 by a sec theta tan theta, and manipulating this we get the value as minus b by a square cot cube theta. So at theta is equal to pi by 6, we need to find out the value of second order derivative. So it will be minus b by a square into cot pi by 6 cube, and cot pi by 6 we know it is root 3 to the power 3. It becomes minus times 3 root 3 b by a square. This is the result of second part of question number 17. X is given over here as x is equal to a inverse b, right? So x is equal to a inverse b, that means I need to find out a inverse first. So what is a inverse? It is 1 upon determinant a into adjoint a. Now how to find out adjoint a? That means I need to find out the cofactor matrix and transpose the cofactor matrix. So cofactor matrix I have tried to find out. That means it is a11, a12, a13. That means first row of cofactors, second row of cofactors, and third row of cofactors. Then what I have done, I have tried to transpose it because it will give me adjoint of a. So this we have done over here, right? So it will be 7 minus 19 minus 11, 1 minus 1 minus 1 minus 3 11 7. It is multiplied by b. B is given to us as 7 minus 5 12, and it has yielded the result as 2 1 and 3. Therefore I get this x matrix, and the value of x is equal to 2, y is equal to 1, and z is equal to 3. So there are chances of making mistakes over here. So try this question last. And its second part was using elementary operations. Again elementary operations becomes difficult, a little bit difficult. And find the inverse of the following matrix. So we are given the matrix over here. We'll be writing it as A is equal to I into A, and we'll try to transform it in such a way that I get the identity matrix on the left hand side. And the way of doing it is, first I'll change this to 1, make it 0 0, right? That means, and I'll be going in cyclic fashion. That means it will become 0, it will become 1, then 0, I'll try to make it 1, and it will be 0, and it will be 0. So I'll be going in this cyclic fashion to convert all the elements corresponding to the identity matrix. So going for row elementary operations, R1 is equal to minus 1 into R1, so it gives me 1 over here, it was what I required. I need to do this operation on both the sides. That is what we are doing. In the second operation, I have gone for changing R2 to R2 minus R1. That will give me 0. And similarly, R3 is equal to R3 minus 3R1. Right? So R3 minus 3R1. So it will give me 0 over here. So I have got 1 0 0. Now I'll try to make a 0 over here. I'll try to make a 0 over here. So we have gone for manipulation also. R2 is equal to 1/3 of R2. Now you can see R2, because it was 3 over here, I'll try to make it 1, so it has been made 1. So that means I have got these elements settled. Right? Now I need to make this element as 0, so it is R3 minus 4R2. R3 minus 4R2 I am doing. So let me see, I can get it right. R3 minus 4 times R2. So I'll be getting 0 over here. So I have got 0 over here. Right? So this element is also settled. Now we are left with 1 by 3, 5 by 3, minus 2 and minus 1. So going for the operations as R3 converted to 3R3. Then these operations, all these row operations are to change to R2 minus 5 by 3 R3. And R1 to R1 plus 2 R3, because my aim is to convert this to a identity matrix, and identity matrix by going in a particular order. So this is the order that we generally take, right? If we are going for row operations, you can go for column operations also. So I have gone for 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 operations, and then we have got the identity matrix on the right hand side, and we have got A inverse on the right hand side, identity on left and A inverse on the right. So it is the lengthy one. That means 9 operations. Definitely it will take approximately 11 minutes. So try to do it at last, and in going for these manipulations we can generate some error. Right? Coming to question number 22, it is easy. Among all open from the top right circular cylindrical boxes of volume 125 pi centimeter cube, find the dimension of the box which has the least surface area. So we know the radius of cylinder is equal to r. We have taken the radius of cylinder as r, height as h. So volume will be pi r square h. That is constant, that is given to us. But here we are having two variables, r and h. So r is square h is equal to 125, and we are writing h in terms of r, because in finding out the surface area, what is the surface area? It will be 2 pi r h plus pi r square, since our cylinder is open at the top. So 2 into pi r h, so 2 into pi r into h plus pi r square. I have got the value of s in terms of single variable, that is r. Now I am able to differentiate it. I have differentiated s with respect to r. I have got the value as minus 250 pi by r square plus 2 pi r. For finding out the critical point, I have put it to 0, and I have got the value of r as 5. Now we'll check whether at r at 5 the volume will be maximum or not. We'll be going for second order derivative. So it is equal to 500 pi by 3 pi by r cube plus 2 pi. So putting r is equal to 5, we get this value as positive. That is 2 pi plus 2 pi, 4 pi. Certainly it is positive, greater than 0. So that means this surface area is least. Right? And we have to find out dimensions. So that means that r is equal to 5, and putting r is equal to 5 in over here in equation 2, I can find out the value of h, that is 125 upon 25, that is equal to 5. So this was required in the answer. Coming to question number 23, again it is a good question for boards also. If y is equal to sine inverse root of 1 plus x plus root of 1 minus x upon 2, then show that dy by dx is equal to minus 1 by 2 under root 1 minus x square. So we have let x is equal to cos 2 theta, which gives theta is equal to half cos inverse x. So writing y is equal to sine inverse root 1 plus cos 2 theta plus root 1 minus cos 2 theta upon 2. So it gives the result as 1 plus cos 2 theta. We know the formula for 1 plus cos 2 theta. Or cos 2 theta formula we know. Cos 2 theta is equal to 2 cos square theta minus 1. So, and the value for cos 2 theta is equal to 1 minus 2 sine square theta. So using these values, putting these values over here, value for cos theta over here and the value for sine theta over here, we get the result as root 2 cos theta minus root 2 sine theta by 2. Separating them, I will be getting two terms. One is cos theta into root 2 by 2. So root 2 by 2 from first one, that means root 2 by 2 over here and root 2 by 2 over here with sine theta. So root 2 by 2 I can write as sine pi by 4 and root 2 by 2 I can write as cos pi by 4 in both the places. To make this the formula for sine A cos B minus cos A sine B, that gives me sine A minus B. So I'm left with sine inverse sine theta. I know what is sine inverse sine theta in a particular domain, that is equal to theta. So I get y is equal to pi by 4 minus theta, and that is equal to pi by 4 minus what is theta? Theta is half cos inverse x. So dy by dx is equal to pi by 4. It is equal to dy by dx is equal to the differential of pi by 4 is 0, that is constant, minus half. What is differential of cos inverse x? I know it is a standard differential of minus 1 upon under root 1 minus x square. So my result is 1 upon 2 under root 1 minus x square, and that is the result, and that finishes your sample paper solution. So thank you very much, and try to get the things, and best of luck for your exams. Thank you.